All right, we're rolling. It is Thursday. It's July 7th, and welcome to our client connection call. My name is Dee Corchin, and I'm just one of many health coaches that are on the call along with a lot of our clients. And we added the support tool a couple months ago, really just as a way we can come together as a healthy community and talk about relevant topics. You know, as we go through our health journeys, there's a lot of different issues that come up. Some are specific to our plan, some are just behavioral and psychological questions and struggles that we deal with anytime we're looking to make change. So we've offered this up, and we're getting a great response. So thank you guys for getting on the call and taking time out of your schedules. It reflects a couple things, and it's actually very relevant to tonight's topic. We're talking about comparison. The topic is the comparison trap. And, you know, by making the commitment to be on this call, by making the commitment to improve your health, you've made a decision that you want to improve yourself. You want to be a better version of yourself. And that's challenging, you know, and so compliments and kudos to you for making that choice, because not everybody's willing to go through what it takes to really make significant change in our life. You know, there's challenges, there's struggles, and we have choices in how we respond to that, and how we, you know, whether we use those situations to move us forward or to hold us back. So, so relative to that, you know, I think that anytime we do want to make change in ourselves, we suddenly become aware of what's going on around us, right? And that whole comparison possibly to what other people, where other people are, and especially if there are other people on a health journey, how is their progress? How's that measuring up to where we are? And tonight we're actually combining the client portion and the coach portion of our call instead of separating them out, because I think the whole comparison theory or the comparison trap of letting it affect our behavior, it really applies to all aspects of our life, whether it's our health journey or whether it's our coaching business or wherever it is in life. I mean, you can look on social media, look around the world, and it's very, very normal to compare. So I just wanted to kind of go over some of the fundamentals of where does comparison come from? Like, what is it? And then what are the various responses we can have to it? And then what do we do with that information? And then we'll take that we'll reel it back in and circle back and make it very specific to our program and our health journeys. So I looked up the definition of comparison, which of course is a variation of the word compare. And what it means is to examine two or more objects, ideas, or people in order to note similarities or differences. And it's a normal human processing behavior. Comparison is normal. It's really part of as our brain and our reasoning process. It's how we distinguish items and things being different from one another. So it's a healthy processing aspect that we have. And it starts when we're babies and we're children and you know, going through school and grades. Think about what'd you get on the spelling test. I mean, everything starts to become a comparison very young in our lives. So it's a very, very natural part of our human behavior. I guess the question is, what happens when we start to compare? And if we start to use that comparison and start to internalize it, and rather than just observing differences, but actually starting to use it as something that makes us feel less about ourselves, you know, that it turns into something more negative or creates feelings of envy or jealousy. And if you think about it, you know, without comparison, we wouldn't even have a need for words like envy or jealousy, because you'd never be comparing or being jealous of something or someone else. So it's definitely, those two words come from a reaction from comparing. And, you know, there's a lot of ways that we see or observe other people or behaviors, and social media is one of them, right? So that's one avenue that we know, whether it's just your general Facebook feed or if it's in our our own group, like we want to make it Take Shape for Life specific, you might see somebody post something about great progress or something. So that's someplace that you might be seeing, somebody celebrating something great that's going on in their life. In society in general, there's different, just culture, there's society of the way that we compare ourselves to other people. So we could blame it on social media. We could say, well, this is a social media problem or whatnot. But if I read a really interesting article today, and it was saying social media was never meant or designed to be a comparison tool. It's just something that as humans, we've decided to take and make it that. It was really designed just as a social tool, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, really just a way to share, and we all know people tend to share their best, right? People don't necessarily tend to air their dirty laundry. And, quite frankly, I don't want to see somebody else's problems because I have my own. And that's just the reality and the recognition that nobody's life is perfect. What we're seeing is the highlights of somebody else's life. We created the Eat, Late, Live, and Be Healthy Facebook group as a support tool because we really wanted to utilize it for various things, definitely a share of information among each other. And we see a lot of that going on, exchanging ideas and recipes and things like that. We want it to be a tool that we encourage each other because let's face it, it's a tough journey. And sometimes we need somebody else to lift us up or help us reframe something in our mind. And we also want to use it as a celebration platform because we're working hard. And I think it's human nature that we want to be celebrated, right? And we want to recognize people for accomplishments and milestones. And so anytime you see that out there, especially on our page, it's really in a positive spirit to be celebrating somebody. And so this article was saying that it really is not it came from Psychology Today. It said, we really don't have a social media problem. We have a comparison problem. It's what we choose to do with the information that we see. It's an automatic internal mechanism in how we respond. And if negative emotions erupt, it's a reflection of three things. It's part ego, right? So we see somebody else and we suddenly take that and twist it. And we look at ourselves and go, well, how does this affect me? What does this say about me? Because they've achieved that. All right. So we flip it and it's our ego gets in check and then it gets out of line. And so we start looking at it from that way. It's part of our creative drive. It's part of really reflecting, what am I more capable of? What else is possible in me? And then it's also truly a reflection of what's a deep soul yearning that you have. If it upsets you, it's because what's being reflected is something that you really, truly desire. So blank if that, you probably, if you agree with that to some degree. So then it just becomes a matter of, how do we respond? What are the responses when we see something pop up, whether it's, so you see somebody at an event or you see something pop up on Facebook, what's our response? We can look at that information and we can just observe it, right? That's what comparison is. We're supposed to note similarities and differences. So we can just look at it, note it. Hey, great. She's doing great. And just let it be. We can use it for inspiration. All right. Very often you see, especially within Take Shape for Life, we share stories and we share other people's successes because very often that stirs up something in us that inspires us. And we're like, well, by golly, if he's doing that, well, then I definitely can do this. What's wrong with me? Kind of thing. I need to just take action. This is definitely possible. So comparison can be a great thing if we use it to work in our favor as inspiration. Where it gets into the unhealthy category is when it starts stirring feelings of envy, feelings of jealousy, feeling inferior to somebody. And on the same note, if it makes you feel superior to somebody, that's when comparison is not healthy and we're not having a healthy response to it. Self-esteem really it just simply comes from being you. And anytime we try to measure our value, our importance, our progress, our strengths, in comparison to others, we're most likely never going to measure up. So, so it's really up to us how we're going to choose to respond to this. And we're going to talk about some tips and tools for that. And whether we let these kind of comparisons, if we let it, whether we use it to inspire and motivate us, or whether we use it to crush us and set us backwards. All right, really becomes a choice with us. Some of the strategies to avoid jealousy, to avoid envy. The number one thing is to take the focus off ourselves, right? So let's say we see on, I'm just gonna make it Take Shape for Life specific. So we see on our Eat, Live, and Healthy board that Susie has lost 20 pounds in the last 6 weeks. And, those are results not typical, but Susie's had great luck, and Susie feels great, and she's posted a picture of herself because she's never had more energy, and she feels fantastic, and she got into a size smaller pants. And your journey is not there. It's different. It's just different. So the best thing to do is to look at Susie and just say, well, you know what? Fantastic. Good for her. Because we don't know what went into that, right? Like nothing in this life happens because of luck or circumstance or anything of that nature. It's a reflection of our choices. So we don't know what Susie went through. We don't know what Susie's struggles were. We don't know what Susie's, what choices she made when she said no to a glass of wine at a party or whatever. We don't know what her struggles were. All we're seeing is the highlight. We're seeing the highlight. She's down 20 pounds. If we have feelings of envy or jealousy or uneasiness in ourselves, it's probably because that's what we want, right? It's what we want for ourselves. So if that's the case, the best thing to do is to give Susie the compliment and the kudos for what she's accomplished, right? Giving her exactly what you would want if that was you. Okay, so it turns the tables, takes the focus off of us, and puts it on somebody, puts it on the person that deserves it. And this, I'm talking about Take Shape for Life, but interestingly enough, at my church, we actually did there was a sermon on this, and that was actually one of the tips that came from it was, if you see something and somebody's has something you don't have, compliment them on it. Good for them, they have it. So that helps take it away from it. The other thing we can do is we can actually use it as an opportunity to use it as a mirror for ourselves, and use this opportunity to say, okay, there's a couple questions that we can ask ourselves to start using it as a learning opportunity for us, an opportunity for us to move forward from the place where we are, that we're not happy. So, what do they have that I wish I had? What do I admire about that? Why is that important to me? So kind of getting back to your own internal why of why do you want what they have? What are they modeling for that you want? And then what have they done to get there? Maybe that person can give you some tips, or some strategies, or maybe if you're struggling, that person can actually help you and say, you know what, I've been down that same road, and here's what I chose to do. So, so what we want to do is, when we reflect on those questions and we reflect on helping that other person, complimenting that other person, we actually turn the tables, and instead of focusing on the outward appearance of it all, we turn it inward and kind of look at us and what kind of changes can we make as a result of that, if changes are made, or maybe the change just needs to be a shift in our perception of it. So that's the next piece of it. I mean, number one, the next thing is to really look at yourselves and ourselves and some gratitude. What are we doing well? Let's just look at where we are, and have we made progress? Are we moving closer towards our goals? Because we tend to lose sight when we see somebody else at a faster pace, or having something that we don't have. We tend to lose sight of our own progress and where we are in our own journey. And a great analogy that was given to me many, many years ago was an analogy about a marathon runner. So if somebody sets in, and maybe you guys are runners and maybe you can relate to this specifically, but if somebody is running a race and they have a goal in mind, and that's crossing that finish line, they just set their course, right? They know where they're going, they set their stride, they set their pace, and they just start running. It's just one foot in front of the other. If a marathon runner looks to the left and says, oh my gosh, that person is passing me, you know, and they start to feel bad, like, uh-oh. Or they look behind and go like, hey, look at me, I'm passing all these people. Anytime we do that, we look to our left, we look to our right, we've taken our goal off the finish line. And the ultimate result is it's probably going to break our stride, and it's going to slow us down. It's going to take us away from what it is that we were actually heading towards. But a marathon runner is just going to keep the stride, just keep the pace, and they're going to reach their goal because they're not looking left, they're not looking right. Or if they do see somebody pass them in their peripheral vision, maybe that might just be what inspires them to kick it up a notch and go a little faster, if that makes sense. I think the best thing that we can be doing when we start feeling these emotions, and especially in Take Shape for Life, you know, we have a support team. You know, everybody that's on this call right now is a support team for each other, but your number one fan and your number one support team is your health coach. And I encourage you that if you see something pop up or your progress is not what you want to be, and it seems like everybody else is just, you know, it's all, you know, roses and people are doing great, talk to your health coach about it. Because it's going to do a couple of things. Your health coach can help reframe it for you and help put things in perspective. You know, that's why it's important to hang around like-minded people, all right? Because they're thinking the same kind of thoughts we are, that your coach knows what's important to you. They're going to help you reframe and target on your goal. Not what's going on with the other person, but talking about you. And then sometimes it opens up the opportunity. I'm going to give one example about that. Just recently, you know, when somebody first starts our program, I mean, typical weight loss in the first 2 weeks is between 2 and 5 pounds a week. Some people exceed that. Some people exceed that because when it comes to weight loss, and this can be anywhere down the journey, but when it comes to weight loss, it's different for people. We use the same plan for the majority of people. So if you're male, if you're female, if you have a lot of weight to lose, a little weight to lose, if you have a lot of inflammation and water weight, all of that is going to play into what your results are and how closely you follow the plan. So I recently had somebody who started on the plan and she had lost 3.5 pounds in her first week. I was expecting her to be over the moon excited, and she was disappointed. She was disappointed because somebody else she knew had lost 7 pounds in their first week. So we went through the conversation and it came back to the fact she had never in her life lost 3.5 pounds in 1 week. In fact, she had been on a course for the past few years of gaining weight in all her attempts to lose weight. So she had really lost perspective, you know, and her expectation was way up here, and she had made great progress. She just wasn't seeing it. She was letting that comparison get in the way. Sometimes also when we sit down and talk to our coach, I mean, maybe we're tripping our own self up in our progress and our results. And I recently had a situation with somebody, and she actually told me that she saw somebody post on our page and it really upset her, and she kind of was like throwing her hands up in the air. Well, why bother? And using it as a reason not to commit to the plan. And when we really started talking through it, well, we found out that she wasn't weighing and measuring for her lean and green meals. She wasn't always getting in the 5th MetaFast fueling. And so really the reason her results were not at the pace somebody else's were was simply due to oversights within the plan itself. And when we pulled it all in and she started weighing and measuring, guess what? The next week she was down 3 pounds and she was ecstatic. So it was only through having that conversation that we were able to start digging a little deeper to find out what was going on that was slowing her down. All right, so together we worked through it and we reframed it. So that would be what I would say. Stay focused on your goals and lean on your health coach and your support team to help pull you through those situations, whether you're in a plateau or you just feel like it's not moving at the pace that you want it to, you know, or you're comparing to what else is going on. I'm going to have Lisa and Jonathan speak in just a minute, but I wanted to share. I mean, I think something to always remember is the quote. It's a very famous quote that says that comparison is the thief of joy. So remember that anytime we start measuring our own success against somebody else, it's going to probably knock us down a few. So it's not necessarily a good thing. And really wherever you are, there's probably somebody that would really want what you have right now. So realize that, everybody's individual progress is different, and your progress, if you're moving forward at any pace, you're doing a great job. So Jonathan and Lisa, I will unmute you. Oh, it looks like you already did. Jonathan and Lisa are a couple doing the program together. So a great example of a male and female doing the program together. And I'm just going to turn it over to you guys and share what's been your experience as far as comparing your results, related emotions to that, and then how have you processed through that?
Well, we learned on our very first week that men and women do not lose weight at the same pace. There's an average of the first week, and I was well above average, and Lisa was right at the average. She was on target, but very early on, there was some frustration that we weren't losing at the same pace. So when we did our very first weigh-in, we got a message from our health coach that basically congratulated us both on a great week. And while I felt pleased that I had a great week, Lisa was a little frustrated with her first week because she compared it to my first week. But we got a great report from our coach. But about halfway through that day, I got a private message from the coach that said, just so you know, men lose weight faster than women, and you also need to be supportive to your partner who's not losing as fast as you are. And I'm going to send her a message as well, letting her know how awesome she is. So we got that in our first day, and that kind of demonstrated very early on to us just how supportive this plan is, and how it wraps you in kind of a hug of support and cheerleading and positive reinforcement. And so basically from the very first check-in on, all of our check-ins have been very positive and upbeat, and reinforcing positive things.
And like Jonathan said, right from the get-go, she's always been positive and supportive. And whenever I had negative emotions, she always redirected them into positive. And Lisa, you're where you're supposed to be. You're sleeping better. You have more energy. So she would always bring out the positives in the weight loss and my non-scale victories. She would always point them out, and she would tell me that women, hormones, whatever it is the case may be, they just lost weight a little bit slower than men. And so she's always been supportive, and without that, I think I would have quit. So it's a wonderful tool to have.
It really does make the difference, doesn't it? She helps you, I love what you just said. Well done, Debbie, your health coach, that she pointed out to you other things we tend to overlook, right? So you were seeing health benefits of better sleep, better energy and things like that, but yet you were using that number on the scale as your comparison tool and losing focus of what was really important was that those are all these changes in your health as a result. So a great example of reframing it for you.
And she would point out like I've plateaued right now. And she's like, but you've got curves, you've got cheekbones, I can see them. So it's wonderful to get that uplifting every week when we speak. So
I think what we've noticed is through working with our coach, we've adjusted our goals and our mindset to where we no longer compete with each other. We compete with ourselves, and that's who we're striving to beat. I'm striving to beat where I was last week, and Lisa's the same thing. We don't compete against each other anymore. We're competing against ourselves.
That's so good to hear, looking to be the best version of yourself. Yeah, I love that. And what a great testimony to the power, and why the health coach is provided for free, right, to this program, because it makes such a big difference in our outcome. And that's a great example of it. Well, I hope this was helpful for you guys. It might not have been earth-shattering new information, but sometimes just hearing it phrased a certain way can definitely help, to move forward. So I definitely hope that it's been of value to you. We've got about 5 minutes. I'm happy to open it up the line if anybody wants to share a personal example. It can be related to this. Anything. We've got a few moments if you want to connect. Suddenly shy, huh? Suddenly a shy group. Well, that's all right. I will let you get on with the rest of your evening. I appreciate every single one of you guys making the phone call. We do these on the first and third Thursday of each month, but as it was noted on our page, we will not have one on Thursday the 21st because all of the health coaches, majority of us will be at our national convention in Austin, Texas. So we're excited for that. It's a great opportunity that we learn to be the best coaches we can for our clients and learn about new and exciting upcoming changes that are happening in the company. So we'll look forward to reporting back on that during our first call of the month of August. So if you enjoyed the call, I encourage you to put some feedback on the board. We're going to post the recording, and so I encourage other people to watch it. So appreciate every one of you guys. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to reach out. Have a great night. Thanks.